Very good morning to all of you. I would like to welcome on behalf of Bulwark Technologies, Mimecast, and Halal Computers, all the prominent attendees and the guests who have already joined and would be expecting more people to join in. I am Mohammed Asif. I am lead sales from Bulwark Technologies, based out of Riyadh, and driving the Bulwark business across Saudi Arabia. We have a technical lead, Syed Mubin, who is based out of Riyadh, responsible for the technical stuff for Saudi Arabia only. And we have a sales consultant for the Western region. Arusa is based out of Jeddah. This is a small introduction for the team Bulwark in Saudi Arabia. I have the vendor called Mimecast, which is also present in the call, a gentleman called Ma'an Fatouni. He's a country manager for Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, who is presenting, inshallah, in today's webinar. And I have a Sean Levi, who's based out of Riyadh from the vendor's perspective. I have a gentleman called Vikas Ventu and the entire team from Halal Computers. Today we are going to talk about, a topic which is very much, reflecting here, working through disruption. Okay, so the agenda for today's webinar and the presentation is we already welcome and have an introduction session. Then we will understand the pervasive email security 3.0 vision, which is very important, and I'm sure that the guys from Mimecast will give a very informative session to all of us, which will be definitely going to benefit us in our enhancing our IT. We will introduce, explore security protection at the perimeter, inside the network and beyond the perimeter. We would also like to introduce the DMARC analyzer and brand exploit protection techniques, a very must-know topic, as of now. Then we will have a discussion about security awareness resources for remote workforce, followed by question and answer session. So who we are, this is a very important question. Who Bulwark is, what we are. So Bulwark is basically a cybersecurity specialized value-added distributor for information security solutions. We started our operation back in 1999 in Dubai. And then we expanded, we did a lot of research and development. We found a lot of, technologies, solutions which are already there, proven in the market, accepted in the market. And then we did the NDA, we signed the partnerships and as of now, we have more than 22 technology vendors who are well accepted in the market. Their technologies are well proven technologies, and they are prevailing technologies across the territory, especially in the GCC. Being a distributor, our extended arms are our business partners. So we have more than 700 business partners. Channel partners like Hilal is already there. So we have more than 700 business partners across Middle East and India. Why Bulwark? So Bulwark, as I discussed, Bulwark is an establishment, established excellent track record in delivering world-class products and excellent customer service. Why I'm emphasizing on customer service? Because we are into the solution industry. We are not into commodity sales. And in the solution industry, the most important part is the customer service, because the support, the service, after sales are very important. And Bulwark has always proven in the last 20 years, we have proven we have all the customers who are well satisfied, and they are the recurring customer and they are the returning customer for us. We have, we are offering the award-winning products. As I told you before signing any vendor, we do a lot of research and development to understand the technology, to understand the acceptance of the technology in the market, and then we sign with that vendor. So whatever the solutions Bulwark has, they are all, award-winning product, well accepted in the market. The technology is at par with the industry requirement. We deliver round-the-clock value-added services through our partner network. As I told you, our strength, our extended arms are our channel partners who are there in the territory, who are giving, their services round the clock. The best part and the strength wherein, I don't call myself as a distributor, I call myself as a value-added distributor, because we have invested in lot of verticals. Like we have a dedicated sales team who are regularly interacting with the channel partners, enabling them, speaking to the customer, and going forward. We have a dedicated marketing team who's very closely watching and doing a lot of social media promotions, a lot of marketing activities, just to make sure that our customers are updated, that our partners are updated and well versed with the technology and well versed with the material. Then we have a certified technical team, very important part, because most of the time we don't need to go back to the vendor. Our technical team is so much have expertise to deploy and implement that the customer is pretty happy, and that is the reason we have excellent customer services and happy customers at all. Now, before I'll not take your much time, because we are fortunate that we have vendor with us. I will hand over it to Mr. Sean Levi, who will take further, who will discuss about the technology, about the solution. Over to Sean.
Perfect. Okay, so welcome to everybody that's attending the call today. My name's Sean. I am directly from Mimecast. Just a little bit about me. I've been with Mimecast for about 7 years now, but I've been in IT security for more than a decade. So my experience spans from penetration testing. So I was doing some of the technical stuff a long time ago, but now purely on the sales side for Mimecast. So I deal with commercial accounts. These are accounts that are between 350 to 1,500 users. Mine will obviously manage the enterprise for Saudi. I span across the UAE, Saudi, and India. What I want to introduce you to today is a framework called Security 3.0. Now, what this framework is, it's essentially just a bundle of products. And what we've done is we've built a framework that speaks to a strategy. When we are talking to our customers and prospects and the general public, we look at it from a strategy perspective. We look at 3 different zones. I'm going to talk about those a little bit later. So Security 3.0 is effectively a bundle, not only focusing on email security. However, obviously email is a very big part of it. Now, nearly all cyber attacks today leverage email. There are many reasons why. Just to name some of those reasons, it's because email is always on. It's a trusted form of communication. It can carry links, it can carry attachments, it can be impersonated, and it is very cheap, right, to put together. So if I talk to my experience, 10 years ago when I was doing penetration testing, it was to conduct an attack. We were hired by government departments, by general private companies, by big public companies as well, banks, etc., to try and find vulnerabilities in their systems. Now, what we would do is we would try break infrastructure. Multi-million-dollar infrastructure is a lot more impenetrable today than it was a long time ago. And email, being the #1 form of communication, means that it's very easy for attackers to use. And it can carry a lot of vectors like URLs and attachments that users will click on or open, eventually leading to a compromise. Now, this makes email obviously a very effective tool for bad actors. Just some of the intentions behind these attacks would be to gain control over IT assets, but obviously more commonly gain access to data, steal money, or if they want to just disrupt business operations. Every year, the world is seeing an increase in various types of attacks. Okay, so this is not going away anytime soon. It's not decreasing. It's just getting worse and worse every day. Now, these types of attacks, we did a survey across hundreds of customers, large customers globally, and what we found is that 94% of the organizations have admitted to experiencing a phishing attack. Okay, so what this means is that almost everybody is experiencing a phishing attack. So if there were 10 people on the call, there's probably one person who is in denial. So those are the people that say, no, I've never experienced a phishing attack before, where the actual fact is 100% of organizations are experiencing these types of attacks. Now, Mimecast alone blocks on average around 22 billion threats monthly. This is across around 40,000 customers across the globe, and nearly 2/3 or 61% you see at the top there of organizations believe that suffering a negative business impact from an email-borne attack, it's either likely or it's inevitable, meaning that 2/3 say that if we get attacked, it's going to result in something bad for the business. We also do a quarterly global threat intelligence report. This you can find under the assets on our website. They are free. If you are part of our mailing platforms as well, you would receive these. But these reports that are generated on a quarterly basis speak about different territories, different regions, what we've seen across our customer base. Obviously, some topical information, what the world is seeing from a cyber attack perspective globally. But just in this particular piece, we focus on 4 primary categories: spam, impersonation attacks, phishing, and spear phishing. Now, you can see on the left, we talk about the amount of attacks. So you can see that there's scales from 200,000 to 800,000. There'll be 2 million to 8 million on the yellow, 500,000 to 1.5 million in the dark blue, and so on. On the right are different months. I think those are actually, those would be different weeks within a particular quarter. Now you can see that during this particular quarter, there are times where attacks on the low end, and then there's obviously times when attacks are spiked. Now, you can see that in December, that's your last one, particularly in the dark blue and the yellow, you can see that those attacks kind of taper off. Now, the reason for this is because attackers are not machines, attackers are people. And just like people, they go on holiday. Now, we find in December, obviously, this is when the attacks are on the low end because attackers are generally away, and so are employees, right? So because there's nobody conducting the attacks and there's nobody clicking on the links and open up the attachments, we see that there's a decrease in these types of attacks. But keep in mind that although there are times where they do taper off, there are also times where they spike. We use the COVID pandemic as a very good example. With all the news links, the applications that are floating around, it's very easy for somebody to be tricked to click on something that's not legitimate. In this example, we see that in October, there was a reported peak volume of more than 5 million combined threats detected on one particular day. Now, that's an average of around 150 attacks per company on one day. Ultimately, IT, security, the business people need to all think differently and work together to tackle these security challenges. They can have crippling consequences on the business, and we've seen that time and time again with very large companies that do disclose them. Email security needs a new approach. Just out of interest, something that I did find is that just speaking to Saudi, I found an article on CNBC that says that Saudi has seen a 250% increase in cyber attacks in 2020. Phishing, ransomware incidents, those are the ones that are increasing in frequency. Now again, we look back, things used to be a lot easier. Email security has typically been provided by a SEG, or secure email gateway. Now this is a classic email perimeter strategy. A lot of the services that you subscribe to today, so if it's Office 365 or Google or any of those platforms, typically do have a secure email gateway. But that is your classic email perimeter strategy to keep bad emails from making their way to good organizations, but it's limited to things like antivirus and anti-spam. But lately, that perimeter has started to dissolve. Now, changes in the threat landscape and the way that we work require that the strategy needs to extend beyond this traditional perimeter and move towards an email security strategy that's more pervasive and it's more complementary of the overall security system and work environment. People are more mobile. We have work from anywhere, work from home policies. We have the ability to travel anywhere in the world and work from anywhere in the world. And also the devices open up a lot of different threat vectors as well. Now, there are a lot of solutions out there that we do use. I think Mimecast uses in excess of over 100 different services today. Okay, so we need a lot of these things, especially things like your firewalls, your SIMs, your SOARs, all of that to be interconnected. Again, this might be relevant to some people on the call. It might not be relevant. However, at some point in time, this is going to be relevant to everybody. Now, Microsoft has developed the greatest business productivity toolkit in the history of mankind. It is also the most adopted platform in the world to date. Everybody is shifted to the cloud. It might be happening very slowly, but eventually we will all be in the cloud, and things like appliances, those things will be things of the past. Just talking to Microsoft, a problem that Microsoft cannot fix are things like security. Now, there's obviously the more that we adopt and the more features that we adopt, the more that we are opening ourselves up to different threats, different vulnerabilities, different compromises, different threat vectors. Now, I'll just see if I got the slide here. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip some of the animation. But some of the, some of the things that we're seeing, or there is a correlation between the success and also the targeting of the platform. The one is obviously an increased attack surface. Now, Microsoft have more than 300 million business users, and this is increasing on a daily basis. Every user is a new angle or of attack for malicious actors. Every user added means that the data added to Microsoft Office 365 increases. And obviously, the cash prize then increases for the attackers. Ultimately, there's one lock to pick, and that opens up the vault to millions and millions of users and companies globally. And also, we've seen that COVID-19 has also increased that attack surface. So it's become a catalyst for Microsoft adoption, number one. And we've seen Teams, the adoption of Teams increase by over 40% in a particular month. But this also increases the attack vector. So we have the attack surface increasing and obviously providing more incentive. The second is the dependence on a single vendor. Sorry. Now, the adoption and the financial pressure means that the herd are more than willing to accept the Microsoft security as being good enough. Now, they are more than happy to accept that Microsoft is resilient enough to recover their data from an incident, and also that Microsoft has more security features now than it has ever had. Ironically, none of this is actually true. Now, the dependence on a single vendor means that the impact of a breach and the risk of that impact is just magnified. And then the third is the attention from cyber criminals, which I covered a little bit earlier. Having everybody using Microsoft, having this public, I mean, you can find out that somebody's using any vendor by just checking the MX records. This just makes the attack surface a lot richer for the attacker. And they do have purpose-built attacks, which we have seen in the past, specifically things like ransomware that are designed to bypass things like the antivirus engines or the sandboxing that, in this example, Microsoft are using. Now, I'm not picking on Microsoft. They're an incredible product. We use them as well. It's just a reality that vendors that have a laser focus on things like security do plug the holes that vendors like Microsoft do leave exposed. A new age problem that what we're seeing today requires that a comprehensive email security strategy needs to be adopted. This means moving from a perimeter-only approach to a pervasive security. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to think of this in 3 different zones. Now, zone 1 is at your perimeter. Zone 2 is inside your network and your organization. And zone 3 is beyond your perimeter. So in summary, what we discuss here is we're having a look at protecting from a perimeter perspective. So having your doors locked, having your windows closed. But in the event something does get in, and it does, we need to have eyes and ears for the lateral spread. And then beyond your perimeter, this is stuff that's happening outside of the organization. So now we've got a 360-degree view as well as an external view as well. Okay, again, just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip through the animations. Now, the problem that we're trying to solve here is when we look at zone 1, Typically, the requirement is customers are looking to reduce the amount of spam and targeted attacks that they're seeing. Now, because 94% of all attacks start with email, your perimeter is very important to be able to stop this. This is where most attacks are starting. Zone 2 being inside your network in your organization. Again, eyes and ears for the lateral spread, also building up the human firewall. I'm going to talk to all of this very shortly. Zone 3, beyond your perimeter. This is stuff that's happening externally, things like spoofing or impersonations where your customers, your suppliers are getting affected, but ultimately it is using your brand. And then having the ability to integrate with other parts of your infrastructure to just making everything a lot smarter. All right, so zone 1, so at Mimecast, we define zone 1 as your perimeter. Now, in other words, this is the secure email gateway, but in a physical world, it will be much like your passport control. So this is, I believe this is the gates in Dubai. It looks like them. I mean, this could be anywhere though, but it's the same thing, same concept, right? You land up in another country, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go through passport control, and they'll validate whether you can come into the country or not. Another example would be like a reception. A visitor arrives there in reception, would ask them who they're coming to visit, do they have an appointment, and just validate some information. Now, attacks on zone 1 are relentless. As I said, 94% of all attacks start with email. But the good news is that, as most of you are aware, is that Mimecast does have some of the best technology in the industry today. This includes our targeted threat protection to stop these attacks and keep our customers safe. We move to zone 2, or inside your perimeter. Now, even with a robust email security perimeter in place, attackers can still try and bypass the perimeter and operate inside the network. There's lots of different ways that can happen, but if we had to categorize it, we can categorize it by compromised employee accounts. We can categorize it by malicious employees or by careless employees. Now, typically in any situation here, the organization's email system is used to send bad stuff internally and out. Now, there are two very important considerations in Zone 2. The first is having the ability to interrogate internally sent emails, and then more importantly, having the capability to remediate. So remove the malicious or inappropriate content from the network once it's detected. Now, Mimecast can do this using what we call internal email protection. But since your employees are still vulnerable to opening up attachments, clicking on links, falling for scams, the second very important consideration is having the Mimecast awareness training. Now, this is really critical to help turn your employees into allies rather than the weakest link. Remember, the attackers are always trying to find the weakest link and then pivot off that weakest link. But if you can educate your end users, build on that weakness, make that weakness a strength, it changes everything from a cyber threat landscape perspective. But then we move to beyond your perimeter. So unfortunately, with all of that in place, it's still very simple for attackers to easily impersonate a brand on the internet without even trying to penetrate the perimeter or access the internal network. Anybody can do this. You can look on YouTube, there's lots of articles, you can see on Reddit, but ultimately all it takes is for somebody to simply register a similar domain, or they can host a website or login page that looks similar to yours and draw customers, partners, general public to it. Now, this could cause all sorts of damage. This could be reputational damage, it could be indirect or direct damage leading to financial losses. The value and the trust that a brand may have taken years to build could be destroyed within seconds. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but this would require implementing two things. The first is DMARC. Now, DMARC is there to protect the domains that an organization owns. Now, I'll talk about DMARC a little bit later, but keep in mind, this is the domains that an organization owns. The second thing is we need to combine that with proactive hunting for and takedowns of impersonated domains that you don't own. So these are domains that look similar to yours, but are being used externally. Now, today we do offer two solutions here. The first is the brand exploit protection, which is what we call it. This is where we look for those impersonated domains that you don't own. And the second is DMARC Analyzer to give you reporting for the unauthorized use of domains that you own or the spoofing. Now, DMARC, anybody can set up DMARC, right? You don't particularly need a solution for this. However, enforcing DMARC can be a very lengthy process, especially if you have lots of domains, sending domains, because there is a risk that you are rejecting legitimate traffic. Now, the reporting is not generally available, like the forensic reporting that you do get with DMARC is not readily available. Also, the reports that you are presented with are in XML format. So these things are typically not read. So now the risk of obviously rejecting legitimate emails becomes very difficult to fix. Now, interestingly enough, I don't have the stats for Saudi, but we conducted sample research in the UAE. And what it showed is that 75% of the companies that we surveyed do not have a DMARC policy. But of the 25% that do, 60% of them are only monitoring. Now, most companies that are only monitoring are presented with these types of reports. Now, it's important that from a DMARC perspective is that you do get that DMARC policy set to reject state, because what you want to be doing is you want to be telling the outside world to reject any emails that are using your domain that are not coming from you. Now, DMARC Analyzer, the product, the Mimecast DMARC Analyzer product, is an easy to set up and use solution. Now, it offers 360-degree visibility. You've got reporting for unauthorized use of the domains that you own, the ones that target your customers, suppliers, as well as your employees. Now, obviously, at Mimecast, we aim to make this DMARC conformance as simple as possible. We provide dashboards that translates those XML reports into a more readable format. You've got all the visibility and monitoring there, but also very importantly, we can help get you to that reject state a lot quicker than you would if you didn't have the reporting and the visibility. I'm just going to skip these and go straight to, here we go. So the brand exploit protect focuses on early proactive detection. This is specifically designed to stop phishing attacks right as they are born. Again, this is something that can be done manually. However, in order to understand whether these attacks are actually being, they're live attacks and they're actually attacking your customers and your suppliers, somebody has to tell you, right? It doesn't just pop up as an alert to tell you that one of your customers are under attack. Your customer would likely tell you. By the time you have that information, the damage is likely done. But in order to get that domain or that website removed, it takes a lot of homework in the back end, emails, forensic information to the registrar to ask them to remove that particular site. Now, the solution obviously is there to simplify this the whole process. Now, the solution is made up of three elements. The first is the proactive hunting or proactive intelligence. Now, we have quadrillions of scans, okay, that are happening 24/7 using AI, using machine learning, using AI and machine learning to rapidly identify the use of lookalike domains that are being designed to deceive or steal your data or money. In this example, you can see that we have Roberts. So when any suspicious or live attack pops up, it is then populated in real time on the dashboard here, right? The second is the threat detection agent. This is where we uncover instances where your website has been scraped, cloned, and hosted on another domain. And the third is the remediation. This is where we can ensure that to take effective and immediate action to stop attacks and minimize the damage caused. At the click of a button, you can request a takedown if you see a live attack, or we report you of a live attack. And within a few hours, that website or domain is then removed. Now, we also offer bilateral API integrations. The email attack surface is so rich in data and intelligence And if we can share that data via dashboards and APIs, we can ultimately help IT teams and technology systems become smarter. Now, email security is en route to becoming the highest contributing component in any customer security ecosystem. It's also the biggest pervasive value add, not just in the 3 zones, but across the entire security estate. And what you see on the slide is just a few examples of some of the out-of-the-box bilateral API integrations we have, but there are thousands of them available, and there's more that we roll out almost every week. But you'll see that a lot of these are things like SIMs, SOARs, firewalls, endpoint securities, and so on. Now, this is the framework I just wanted to share with you. So Mimecast is not just a Security 3.0 company. We do other things. But as you can see, being a true SaaS solution, a lot of these we have bundled together, but a lot of them can be bought individually as well. So if we just had a requirement for, give me one moment, for zone 1, which is your perimeter, we would sell you that product. If your requirement extended to zone 2, so you wanted to also look at the internal network, we can include internal email protection and awareness training. But assuming your requirement is just for awareness training, you have a solution in place as well. You can just buy the awareness training and phishing simulation from Mimecast as a standalone. And the same with the DMARC analyzer and the brand exploit protection. On the right here are just the resilience extensions. So we do also have email continuity, which is your high availability. We have a DNS gateway in web security. We do archiving, which is your bottomless perpetual archive. Comes with all the bells and whistles, the e-discovery, litigation hold, and so on. So why Mimecast and why now? IT and security teams at most companies are overwhelmed, under-resourced, under-budgeted. This has been a common problem for many, many years. Now, we are addressing the email security challenge at industry scale with Email Security 3.0. So we use our core platform to help our customers achieve greater security and resilience, and ultimately further reduce the cost and complexity. This slide is something I took out of one of our COVID presentations during the early days of the pandemic. It just, it's the same message we've been talking about for 2 decades. And the message was so relevant during that time, where we talk about things like reduced budgets, we talk about things around under-resourced, so the leaner teams, and obviously increased risk. Mimecast has always been about reducing cost, complexity, and increasing return on investment. So if we look at the smaller budgets as an example, we solve that by consolidating vendor costs. It's a SaaS solution. It's a predictable subscription model, as you can see, and we've also got a plan that's designed to maximize the total cost of ownership. No hardware, no software. It's a subscription business. The leaner teams, because most of what we do is under one adcon. It's a simple administrative experience. It's also one support team, effectively to manage all the products. Also, the education and accessible expertise are available across various different repositories that we have. And obviously the integrations to streamline the orchestration. So this is the APIs, also giving you more visibility and a much better experience. And then obviously reducing the risks. Right, so providing a solution of high efficacy ultimately translates into better security. Now we're building the technology with an intentional and scalable design ideology, which means we do have a very long roadmap. And we're building something that's very scalable, much the way that Apple did, kind of when it created the iPhone. So it brought together a lot of several popular but different or disparate technologies into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. Now we've wrapped our platform around connectors and APIs so we can keep building and extending the scope of the capabilities we offer to our customers. Just as an example, the web security We're giving more protection, but with less to manage. The awareness training is there to strengthen the human firewall. All our security customers have a threat intelligence dashboard to provide insight into how their organization is being targeted and what actions they can take to ensure that their protection is optimized. And we continue to incrementally build capabilities. We continue to integrate and connect with other security investments. The end goal is to keep making things easier and more cost-effective for our customers around the world, and to increase in their efficacy, providing better security. Okay, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of my part of the presentation. I think that's actually the full presentation itself. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you, Sean, for the very informative and wonderful session. Guys, we are very much reachable to you. You can reach to Team Hilal, me, or Mimecast directly as well. So I'm really thankful to you all who has joined the session. Thanks a ton to Sean for a wonderful and informative session. Definitely it will help us to create opportunities and to enhance the IT and to secure our email on all the layers. Thank you, man, and the team who has organized that. Thanks, guys. You can more than welcome to reach out to us, to me, Arusa, Mubin, or to Team Hilal. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot.